was awesome.
Hello and welcome to another episode of ForReel. We are here. I am joined by my good friend Thomas and Ethan. The ForReel team is here to talk about The Naked Gun, the long-standing spoof franchise powered by some of the best straight man imbeciles in the business. And it is very exciting to see this return. A movie that frankly should not work, but somehow does. So we are very excited to talk about this. So the new Naked Gun 2025 stars Liam Neeson, Pamela Anderson, Paul Walter Hauser, Kevin Durant, Danny Houston, Liza Koshy, Cody Rhodes, CeCe Pounder, Busta Rhymes, and a bunch of UFC people that only I would know on this podcast. It is directed by Akiva Schaffer of the Lonely Island fame and written by Dan Greger, Doug Mann, and of course Akiva Schaffer, based on the Police Squad series from many, many years ago, starring the one and only Leslie Nielsen. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful podcast.
Yes, in the words of the Black Eyed Peas, let's get retarded.
I don't think you can say that anymore.
I don't know. I'm quoting. It's a quote. It's a direct quote.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's very good. That's very good. So here's what I want to start with, because this movie is a joke per minute type of movie. Runs quick, easy breezy, 85 minutes, and that's it. You're in and out. You show up, you laugh, and you leave. And that's, God, we need more of that in cinema so much. So the first thing I want to talk about is I kind of just want to talk about your relationship to The Naked Gun overall. This is a long-running franchise, as we said. It's been around for a very long time. So, Ethan, we will start with you. What is your relationship to the Naked Gun franchise overall?
So I saw the original movie when I was a kid. I don't know how old I was, but I thought it was pretty hilarious. Obviously, some gags went over my head because I was a kid. But my uncle had gifted us a burnt DVD set of the three movies, and I only remember watching the first one. I watched the original trilogy this past week leading up to the new film, and I feel like every gag from the original film, as soon as I watched it happen, I'm like, oh, I remember this. Like, it came right back to me, and I watched the other two, and I loved them both. I like the second maybe slightly less than the original, and the third maybe a bit down more. There's some gags that don't land very well, and it just repeats some of the same beats as the first two. But I think overall it's a great series, and I'm glad it's back, and I will take 20 more of the Liam Neeson Naked Gun movies.
Awesome. Thomas, what about yourself?
I have literally no relationship to The Naked Gun. I have never seen a Naked Gun movie. The only exposure I've had to Naked Gun is maybe the GIF with everyone slapping their forehead. That's Naked Gun, right?
I didn't know that until I saw the third movie, and I'm like, oh, that's where that's from. Same with him picking up the coin. I was like, that's probably like Police Squad or something, but no, that's from the third movie.
Yeah, so that is all the exposure that I had. And there's a part of me, so to be entirely transparent, I had no intention on seeing this movie this weekend. Cool, it's a new comedy that it's the legacy, reboot, sequel, whatever we're gonna call it. That's great. It's not within my wheelhouse of entertainment that I go out of my way for. And so the only reason I saw this movie was because of this podcast. I'm like, I should probably participate in this one. And it seems like it could be good. I may not like it. I don't know. But either way, there'll be stuff to talk about. And boy, is there stuff to talk about. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to be able to experience this from a very pure perspective. I am eager to go back and watch the other movies in this franchise.
Yeah, I find it so interesting that this is your intro into The Naked Gun. That is such a wild take. But I'm very glad that you came away from it positively.
Yeah, I have been indoctrinated.
Yeah,
great.
no, that's great. That's wonderful. Yeah, so I have a kind of off and on relationship with the Naked Gun series. I do remember watching them when I was much younger. I very similar to Ethan, where like I hadn't seen them in a very, very long time. And so I rewatched the original, and it was just like this flashback of deja vu where it was, oh yeah, I remember this, and oh yeah, I remember that gag, and oh yeah, that's where that's from. So it was really fun to kind of watch it and then basically transition right into the new one, which, man, somebody watched the original trilogy and was like, I can do this. I can do this. I can keep the heart. I can keep the humor. I can keep it going. Yeah, this movie is just so funny. And I think it sets out to be a laugh per minute type of film. And I think it achieves that. So yeah, podcast over, guys. Great job. Thank you everyone for listening. Yeah, so as with most types of these movies, right, when you're doing a parody or a satire, because this is really overall the series, The Police Files, is really a larger spoof commentary satire of hard-boiled detective stories, right? It takes on all the tropes of film noir, crime thriller, all those kinds of things that we know now, but you know, the police procedurals, all of that is here. So when you get these types of movies, the plot is typically going to be very paper thin, and there's not a whole lot of plot to discuss.
It's funny because I'm watching the movie, and it's so great how you can turn a thin plot into that's the point. It's not meant to have a thing, like it's making fun of how thin the plot is. And so as it goes through the beats of, you know, a crime noir film, and it's like it's intentionally being paper thin. And I just appreciated the hell out of that. I think it's the only time I'll accept that as an answer for the plot.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I was talking about this movie with somebody else too, and one of the things that they said that differentiates something like The Naked Gun from, say, Epic Movie, Not Another Teen Movie, Meet the Spartans, even Scary Movie to a certain extent, is all of those movies, they're not just joke per minute. They don't have any basic through line, right? They're all just segments. They're all just sketches. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that necessarily connects them, and that's fine if that's the type of movie that you want to go to. But I think that's one of the reasons that comedy tends to suffer, is because you're not really giving us anything, even if it's paper thin, you're not giving us anything to connect all of these. And I think that's one of the successes of The Naked Gun, that the plot of the movie is Frank Drebin himself, right? Frank Drebin doesn't know that he's in a satire. And that's really what makes it work. And that's why somebody like Leslie Nielsen, shouldering those first couple, he's an expert at that. He is an expert at making you believe that inside of this just absolutely absurdist world where nobody is real, he genuinely believes that he is a detective and that he is solving an actual case. And that's what makes all of it work. And then you get Liam Neeson, which, by the way, there is no way you can convince me that is purely coincidence. No way in hell. Akiva Schaffer knows what's up. That is on purpose. But yeah, so let's kind of just talk through that a little bit about just the nature of comedy film, the nature of comedy, spoof comedies, and how The Naked Gun kind of differentiates itself. Ethan, I know you kind of pointed up, so.
I did want to mention that when you brought up like epic movie, disaster movie, the one that I've seen, or at least remember most seeing, I've never seen Scary Movie. I feel like I saw epic movie at like 4 a.m. with like a roommate who was like high or drunk or something. But what makes those movies not work as well, if at all, is the fact that they're too specific. For example, the best example is superhero movie. If you've never seen Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie, that doesn't work at all. Leslie Nielsen plays literally Uncle Ben. Like, he has like Uncle Ben thing. They recreate like exact moments from the movie. So if you've never seen it, even if you've never seen the X-Men movies, because they go to what is essentially the X-Mansion, and the thing that works great for Naked Gun, new and old, is that it's not trying to directly reference. Like, it's not direct reference humor. It's more, if it's a reference to something, it's a reference to many things in the pop culture zeitgeist, or something that's old enough for you to remember and to make fun of, because you're like, oh yeah, wasn't that weird? Like how the Black Eyed Peas made a song that you don't remember because you only remember the clean version. I remember seeing this, it was an old, like, probably a Vine or something, like, way back in the day, where it was like Black Eyed Peas after making the clean version. Oh, why did we even do the first time? Like, and yeah,
I think that one was particularly funny because the theater that I was in, I think, skewed younger, and I'm not entirely sure if everyone picked up on the fact that Black Eyed Peas had an original version of that song before the really popular version.
Yes.
And so I laughed out loud, and I'm like one of two people that laughed out loud when he said the quote. And then they keep going, and I think everyone laughs because everyone knows who Black Eyed Peas is. And so when they start ripping on Black Eyed Peas, then we start getting the laughter. But that line, like, I don't think anyone got it in my theater.
Yeah,
spoiler alert, we're gonna go through some of our best gags, and that one is way high at the top of the list. Just to peel behind the curtain and give you a little bit about what we're going to talk about. But continue.
I think that one works on multiple levels because, like you said, it goes in with two guys just being like, oh, I love these weird, because they're saying like silly names. They're also, if you haven't heard the original version of the song, and you've only heard the clean version, it's like, oh, he just got it wrong. He's just saying something like weird and offensive, but there's layers to it where, depending on who you are and what you know, the joke still works. And I guess in the younger crowd, some people would just be like, oh, he just said a slur. That's kind of weird. And I feel like that's the edgiest joke in the movie. And compared to the originals, I feel like that was all right, because I think I think Liam Neeson even says, like, oh, can you say that? So there's a little bit of push and shove with the gag, but there's not. There's a gag in the Naked Gun 3 when they're outside the Oscars looking for a taxi, and they keep going into the taxi being like, hey, I need a taxi, and it's just someone speaking a foreign language who's of like a person of color. And then they eventually get to someone who's wearing a turban and also a person of color. And it's like, you know what? Never mind. And then it cuts back to the person attacked, and he's like, what the absolute devil were they on about? I wonder where they are headed off to. So, and I think there's another joke in the second movie where they play around with race, but there's never a joke, I feel, in all four of these movies that is in poor taste. And I think that's what really, really helps it. I've seen another film that's much older that's getting a reboot this year. I'll definitely not be going to see the new one because I don't really care. It's just, despite it being the same plot, similar to Naked Gun, how it follows something very similar, I just don't have interest in it. It's The Toxic Avenger. Maybe it's just me because I'm newer generation, whatever, but I found that old movie to be in really poor taste. I don't know if that's just Troma's whole thing, and I guess that is, but it was just really too overboard for me. But when you have somebody as intelligent as Akiva Schaffer, they understand the line and where to cross it or where not to, and everything works extremely well in favor for the movie. I think every joke lands. There's toilet humor, there's multi-level gags,
there's recurring gags.
Gags. That was one of my favorite things.
That coffee cup. That coffee
cup was so funny.
Oh my god! When I tell you how much that threw me, because they do it relatively subtle in the beginning, where you're like, oh yeah, cops and coffee, and always holding the coffee cup, and then it literally never stops. That sight gag is so continuous throughout this entire runtime. I will tell you, I think one of the most impressive things about this movie isn't just the written jokes, isn't just the line delivery, isn't just the super game cast. It is the amount of consistent sight gags that they are able to maintain. I cannot stress how difficult that is to maintain on the level that this movie does from a filmmaking perspective, to just paint the background and foreground with sight gag after sight gag after sight gag after sight gag. And it's not even the most important joke that's happening at any given time. And the fact that they're able to just maintain that, I think, really speaks to one of the things that you mentioned, Ethan, is just the intelligence of Akiva Schaffer and his writing team, of them being able to intelligently bring spoof humor and satirical humor. And the other thing you brought up, and I want to get Thomas's point on this, because I think you're right. I think one of the successes of the Naked Gun franchise as a whole is its broader comedic sensibilities, its ability to broadly talk about hard-boiled detectives and film noir and crime and police procedurals without having you feeling like you had to have watched all of NCIS to know exactly what these jokes are. And that is something that holds a lot of these other comedies back, even better ones, which I think is probably something like Scary Movie. Scary Movie is, I think, is probably one of the betters of all of them, right? But if you're not really familiar with Scream, that movie is so deeply tied to the events of Scream that it becomes very difficult if you're not really familiar. Now, I don't know very many people that aren't, so it works. But to your point of like things like Epic Movie and Disaster Movie, Ethan. But to your point, some of those other ones, like, yeah, if you aren't as high or you haven't seen as many, or you haven't seen Spider-Man 2, that movie makes no sense. Like, not even doesn't make any sense. The jokes don't land because they're so specific to it. The last example, and then I'll let Thomas talk, the last example of one that I actually think is one of Mel Brooks' worst movies is Dracula Dead and Loving It, because it's not all vampire movies. It's not all Dracula movies. It is almost a shot-for-shot parody of Bram Stoker's Dracula specifically. And I actually think Leslie Nielsen was completely miscast in that movie. But if you didn't see Bram Stoker's Dracula Dead and Loving It straight up isn't funny. There's no broader structure to it. So yeah, Thomas, do you think that that's something that why you like Naked Gun more than maybe some of these other ones?
I do like Naked Gun more than these other ones. In fact, I was thinking a lot about Scary Movie because I think Scary Movie was the first time that I saw a spoof film where I understood the source and was able to understand the because I think it explores a lot about the horror genre and makes a lot of comedy about that. And so like I understood the source and the material in the movie. And so as I'm watching The Naked Gun, I'm like having a lot of flashbacks to my experience with Scary Movie. And I think that it definitely is far and beyond better than Scary Movie. Far and beyond better than Scary Movie because I think that so much of the comedy in this movie.
Hold on, time out. Did someone just deliver a coffee cup to you in the middle of it? Oh my god, I love this so hard. This is the best episode we've ever done. Talk about sight gag.
I redecorated for this episode.
Yeah, no, well done. That was amazing.
I didn't even recognize that.
I didn't even recognize it
you got them
either.
on the wall. You got them on a little like mini.
This is the best joke in the movie.
Now that you brought it up, Jesus Christ, this is the kind of shit that Naked Gun does.
It's so good.
Where you will miss the coffee cups in the background because we're focused on the coffee cup that got delivered to you. Oh my god! Well done, Thomas.
Guys, I will tell you, I had a lot of fun with that one. So yeah, a lot of the jokes are like, it definitely is satirizing and making fun of the genre of film noir and crime noir and all that. But I think that so many of the jokes are pop culture reference and like still relevant to like what we experience in every day. And we were talking about the Black Eyed Peas back and forth, and it's interesting because that character, it's so interesting how much, and I don't know if this was intentional, but how much that character kind of represents Epstein, and how relevant that is right now. And I'm confident if this movie had like a couple more months of production, Bill Cosby probably would have been traded out for Jeffrey Epstein when that joke happened.
That's such a good joke.
It's so good, and her reaction when she spits the champagne back out.
Oh my god, this movie is
so there is still so much, like, it knows how to play with the genre and make fun of the genre, but I think it also brings a lot of comedy, and that is also pop culture, and that's also news relevant, and like things that we recognize. I think of like the Spirit Halloween sign going up when they get their funding pulled. Like you could not make a better joke about Spirit Halloween than that. It's great, and so I absolutely agree with this idea that this movie does a great job at not being too specific about its jokes and not being too specific about what it wants to make fun of, and is just really good at kind of doing both, recognizing the tropes of a genre, making fun of those tropes of that genre, and that genre as a whole, not necessarily specific movies in that genre, and then also bringing in some pop culture comedy as well.
Yeah, I think this movie does a really good job in allowing itself to just be silly and just be absurdist and not worry too much about trying to. It's a tricky balance that Akiva Schaffer is attempting here, where he's doing smart humor, but he's also doing just completely slapstick, ridiculous, silly toilet gags, right? Like there's a whole sequence about going to the bathroom after you eat a chili dog. Like that's an entire segment of the movie, and yet this movie still feels smart, and that's just such a tricky thing to do. So there's
a couple things that it does. There's a couple things that it does. So we've talked about making fun of the genre. We've talked about a couple of the gags, but I think one of the things that this movie also does is it plays a lot with irony and wordplay.
Dad jokes are back, baby.
They are. Pamela Anderson's character, I can't remember her name right now, but she says something about going to college, and he says
her name is Beth, but it's also Miss Spaghetti. Let's not forget.
Miss Spaghetti, that's right. She says something about going to college, and Liam Neeson says UCLA, and she goes, I see LA all the time, and just playing with that wordplay, and I love the different types of comedy that comes into play here.
Yeah. They do it again. Was in all of
they do the Miranda
movies.
Rights too. Yeah, they do the Miranda rights.
Miranda,
like, no, Miranda doesn't write. And then he lists all the Sex and the City.
Ethan, what were you saying?
That's something that was in all of the original movies, is that wordplay, I guess, like, because like if you haven't seen it, like you wouldn't be like, oh, like that also works for me because I've seen the old ones, and like this is great at continuing the same type of gags but not redoing the same gags. And that was something I was worried about with this movie, is that they would do the same jokes again. And I think the closest thing we get to that is when Liam Neeson goes into the club and passes a stuffed beaver, like a taxidermized beaver, and he's just like,
which is the popcorn bucket, by the way.
That's nice.
I would actually buy that popcorn bucket.
That is that's the closest it gets, and it doesn't do like recreate CGI Leslie Nielsen, like it'll reference to that character.
But he's an animal, so
yeah, he's an owl, and it's so good. Like, we can just be spoilers now, since we're going.
Yeah, so let's do that. So I promise you, we're gonna list and get into some of our favorite gags. But
yes,
let's talk about the casting, because I think that one of the successes of this new Naked Gun, we talked about Akiva Schaffer and his writing team, and I think that Thomas and I were kind of talking about this off air, but I think Akiva Schaffer is the literal engine of everything The Lonely Island does, and that includes Andy Samberg. I think most of the best things that Andy Samberg has done have been because Akiva Schaffer wrote it for him. He's just a guy that like has all the humor in the world, is probably the funniest of the three, but has no desire to be on camera. He just wants to write, produce, and direct, and just let other people tell his jokes. We need those. For a successful team like the Lonely Island, you need the guy sitting in the room writing that stuff, and then give it to Andy Samberg, who's got all the charisma, all the character-driven stuff, and then he just knocks out the jokes. But I want to talk about the cast, because I think that this literally does not work if you don't have a cast that is so on board with what you're trying to do. That is where things can go horribly wrong. If you get somebody like Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson who are not willing to just go absolutely balls to the wall with this material and just own every single second of it, this movie falls apart. It is instantly not funny, no matter how good the jokes are on the page. So, Thomas, what did you think of the casting and those characters?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine about, I went to see Naked Gun, and he said, yeah, that's the one with Liam Neeson. I just don't see him in comedy like that. I don't know if he can pull that off. And I'm like, well, he does. He does very, very much so. And it's funny because I think what happened, because I think most people recognize Liam Neeson from action films, and it's almost kind of Liam Neeson spoofing himself a lot of times, because a lot of these jokes are action film oriented, and Liam Neeson is an action star, and he has the deep voice and the seriousness, but he just knows how to weaponize that for comedy. So awesome, definitely great. Paul Walter Hauser, he's in his wheelhouse here. Just, I couldn't imagine like anyone else in this role. He just is right in his wheelhouse. He's doing exactly what I would expect him to in this role, and it is, as always, hilarious. Pamela Anderson, fantastic, just rolling with the jokes, and yeah, there's so many scenes with her that's like hilarious. I think she just does a great job. Like I don't know, perfect casting here for me. Like I can't think of anyone that I feel is out of place here. And I mean, like the cameo roles, Busta Rhymes showing up. I know that's another gag that I think went over everyone's head, which is weird because it seemed pretty obvious to me when they did the Busta Rhymes interrogation scene, and Frank says, it looks like you got locked away for man's laughter, and I busted up because I mean that's again wordplay here. Like I laughed out loud, but nobody laughed in my theater until he said, "You mean manslaughter?" And then everyone laughed, and I'm like, "Come on, y'all!" That one was easy.
Real quick though, I love that joke because it's in the trailer and it's cut differently in the trailer, and I like it better the way it is here because Frank Drebin doubles down on the wordplay before he gets interrupted. Because he says, "Oh, looks like you got 20 years for man's laughter. Must have been quite the joke." And then Busta Rhymes is like, "You mean manslaughter?" And that's broken up in the trailer. And I actually think it's better in the movie. But so Ethan,
I mean, just to wrap up, like, the casting here is great. I can't think of anyone who was out of place, and like that. And I will also acknowledge the trailer. It's interesting that the trailer does cut these jokes in different ways. I think even when Frank meets Beth, and they start talking, like the chair gag, like have a chair or have a seat or whatever. And she's like, "I'm fine. I have more at home." It's not cut that way in the trailer, and that's great. Like, yes, misdirect us in the trailer so that we can really enjoy these jokes. Because that's one of the things that I hate about comedy movies is how they're marketed. A lot of times they put the best jokes in the trailers to get you to the movie, and then you kind of see these jokes coming. But when you can splice it differently and make it a little different in the trailer so that we can actually enjoy the full length of the joke in the movie, I am all for that.
Yeah, for sure. Ethan, what do you think?
I was fully on board with Liam Neeson since day one, ever since I saw the clip from Ted 2. I hope you know what I'm talking about, when he's at the grocery store and he's getting a box of tricks and how he's asking if they're for kids. And he is in character as one of his like Taken guys or whatever, where he's like deadly serious and looks like he's about to kill this fucking teddy bear, but he's just trying to see if he's allowed to get a box of tricks, or if like somebody will come after him because tricks are for kids. And so as soon as I heard that it was Liam Neeson, I'm like, that's the guy. And also it's hilarious how you got him because his name sounds like wordplay on Leslie Nielsen. So I think this movie doesn't work without him, and him specifically. I don't see anybody else doing Frank Drebin Jr. I really enjoyed all the little characters. The guy they got to play the CIA, or not CIA, like the CSI, like their version of Q. Is that the guy from James Bond?
Oh yeah.
He does a lot more tech stuff in the original movies, but the guy they get in this movie just looks oddly familiar, like the original guy. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about casting as far as that goes. Everyone's just perfectly put, and the second interrogation scene is one of my favorite gags. Unfortunately, like I read something being like, oh, there's a Mission Impossible Fallout gag in here, and I was like expecting that. Did you get all that before the things come down? And I thought that was great, and then it just keeps going and going, and it's incredible. And it still has like, even though you think it's like, oh, that was a funny gag, it also has implications on the plot, because it's like, that was coercion. Like, that's not a real confession. We can't get that from him. So it's making fun of the characters in the movie, but it's also like, yeah, that shit would have never worked in Mission Impossible either. But it's not, again, back to Black Eyed Peas joke. It's a joke that works on multiple levels, not just you saw Mission Impossible Fallout. It's this is really absurd how they managed to set up this whole fake wall, and then more fake walls, and then like a digital screen.
Not only is it absurd, but it's also self-aware. He asks, how did you get these walls built so quickly? You know, like they actually addressed
Yeah, as soon as I knew where this was going, I'll comment on the cast, and then we're going to get into the gags that we love, because I know that's what we really want to talk about. But as soon as they showed the TV screen where it was like Danny Houston's character arrested, I was like, oh, we're fucking doing Mission Impossible right now.
Right.
Like,
Lorne Bell
this
did
is
this for
happening.
too.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good. I definitely agree. Liam Neeson is really the linchpin. He's the driving force of all of this. And I think that if anybody, because again, that's one of the things that Leslie Nielsen does very, very well. Like I said, he is the straight man imbecile that doesn't know that he's in a satire. And that is a very, very difficult skill to pull off, which is why Leslie Nielsen is genuinely one of the greats. And it's why the Naked Gun movies work so well. Yes, they're written very well. Yes, they're very funny. Yes, they appeal to a broader comedy. But if you don't have a guy in the movie that doesn't know he's in the movie, it straight up just doesn't work. And Liam Neeson is just so game to just shoulder all of these things and be an absolute imbecile and think that he's a genuine detective, and his line delivery is excellent. The way that I knew he was going to be good at this, and I forgot what it's from, but there's I think it's called Extra. But there's a sketch where it's him, Ricky Gervais, and Stephen Merchant. And he basically comes in to do like an audition, and they want him to audition for a comedy role, but he keeps commenting on all of the things that he's done, and he starts talking about his method acting. And he does this whole bit where he talks about Schindler's List and Spielberg. And Spielberg comes to him and he's like, hey, I want you to be in this movie. It's called Schindler's List. And in the way he's delivering it, and then he looks at Spielberg in the way that he's describing it, and he's like, and I told Spielberg, I love lists. It's my favorite thing. And he's so dead serious as he's delivering this line. And you're just like, that's not what this movie is at all. And he's delivering it. And it's, as soon as I saw that, and then I saw that he was going to be in this Naked Gun, I was like, oh no, he can do it. That's the guy you need at the heart of this. So yeah, I think he's fantastic. I really love what Pamela Anderson is doing here. I think it's more so of a redemption than The Last Showgirl, which I do think she's good in. I just don't think that movie's very good. But this is such a good opportunity for us to see her really thrive and really demonstrate that, like, she really is a legitimate actress. And that is truly where her heart has always lied, where her passion has always lied. She really was just the victim of circumstance. And while she is definitely popular for things that she has, she's a gorgeous woman. And naturally, you're going to be a gorgeous woman on Baywatch. I understand. But that was never what she wanted to do. And so this giving her that opportunity to show us that, like, oh, yeah, no, she can be funny. She can be very funny. You just got to give her the right material. She's absolutely hilarious in this. I'll get 2 more shout outs. So I love Kevin Durant in this movie, even though he doesn't have a lot to do. Like, that guy is just, he's such a chameleon and he's such a great character actor. And the way that he just shows up in things like this, to just that there's the gag where all he's doing is just they're doing surveillance on him. And they're just taking pictures, and it's just him doing different stuff in each picture. And that, like, there's no reason for somebody as character actor strong and as popular as Kevin Durant to be doing something like this. And he's just like, yeah, dude, I'll be the 7th most popular actor in this movie. It's fine. And he just murders it. And he's so good. He's so funny. Even in that interrogation scene with Fallout, like, his reactions to Liam Neeson describing what's going to happen to him is so goddamn funny. I love him so much. And then, honestly, a real shining star for me this is somebody I didn't know was capable of doing this, but Danny Houston as the main villain, his ability to kind of tap into that same vibe as Liam Neeson, where he is a straight villain that doesn't realize that he's also in a movie and he's also
being his character from X-Men Origins Wolverine, but in
yes,
comedy.
yes,
that's all I know him from.
Yeah, no, and he's I love Danny Houston. He's one of the greatest villains of all time, in my opinion, villain actors. But he's so good. He's so good in this movie. He's so funny in this movie. And so I'm going to transition that into gags, and we'll work backwards. But one of my favorite gags, it's not my favorite, but one of my favorite gags is actually that final boss fight between Liam Neeson and Danny Houston. The first, so we're gonna get into full spoilers now, guys. So we're gonna wax poetic about some of our favorite gags from start to finish here. So that whole sequence is hilarious from start to finish. So they're facing off, and then out of I was so shocked when this happened, because I was like, wait, what is happening here? But all of a sudden it switches. It's on Danny Houston, and then it switches back, and Liam Neeson isn't there. It's Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista! Like, what?
Dave Bautista continuing a monologue, and you're just like, why? What is happening? And then all of a sudden you hear a toilet flush, and then Liam Neeson comes in, and he was the stand-in, and dismisses him. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, this is so amazing. You got me. But then they get into the actual fight, and Danny Houston gets punched in the stomach. And it is a good, I'd say, 1.5 to 2 minutes of him just saying the most stupidest shit about getting punched in the stomach and wanting to throw up and feeling and saying that he's been in a fight, but he really hasn't been. It's clear no one has ever punched him before in his life. I died. When I tell you I fell out, I loved it so much. That scene is just absolutely fucking hilarious. So Thomas, what was one of your favorite gags? Doesn't have to be your favorite, just one of your favorite, because we're basically going to go through all of them.
It's actually interesting how many detours. How this movie takes a couple detours sometimes, and the detour with the snowman, like
the Jack Frost movie we deserved,
right? Exactly. Oh my gosh, just this like little mini arc of a story in this bigger story. You don't need it. It doesn't need to be there. When it ended, I was like, you could literally just chop that whole segment off, and this movie would just keep going the way that it has been, just fine.
Fun fact, the studio wanted him to. The studio, so he, one of the Akiva, that's Akiva Schaffer's like baby. That whole sequence, that montage is like, and I know Thomas, you haven't seen it, but Ethan, have you seen Hot Rod and Never Stop Stopping?
I saw Hot Rod many years ago. I've not seen Popstar, but I really want to. And I've always wanted to.
So this snowman sequence is so attuned to Akiva Schaffer's writing. Like, all three of those movies have something like this that is injected into what they do. It's also very Lonely Island coded. Like, that is just something Lonely Island does. If you listen to any of their music, like, their song will start out as one thing, and then they'll just have a random segment that has absolutely nothing to do with this song, and then it just returns to the end. Like, that is so Lonely Island coded. So the studio, when he had this in his script and he was going to film it, they were like, no, we don't. You can't just do a Jack Frost snowman bit in the middle of this movie. And they actually wanted him to do something more in line with the original, like the original love scene. With Ethan will know what I'm talking about. Thomas, you won't, but you'll see it and you'll be like, oh, okay, I know why they wanted to do this. So they wanted him to do something like that. And so he fought real hard to keep that snowman scene in there. And they finally relented and they let him have it. And I am so glad they did. But anyway,
it's very happy. It is such a fun detour to have in this story. Just like a moment to break away from the main narrative and just have the development of this, this little sequence. I loved that. I was so, and then I mean, just it was so entertaining. I that stood out to me, and I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah. I knew we were in for a treat when they pulled out the book and it said spells and incantations. That might have been the funniest part about the whole sequence.
That Ethan, one was funny. Sorry, let me give one more really quick. It just popped in my mind because the other one that I died laughing at was the TiVo Buffy segment, and this one is particularly hilarious to me because I'm currently finishing up Buffy for the first time.
I thought of you, by the way. When they started in on the bit, I was like, oh, Thomas is going to love this.
I did love it. I got all everything he was talking about with Buffy. I was there. And when they brought out spells and incantations, I was like, oh, that's kind of a Buffy reference too. But yeah, that sequence was just hilarious to me. And again, I think that the audience was just skewed a little too young to laugh as hard as I did at that. Like, do people here know what TiVo is? Like, has anyone here used TiVo? Does anyone understand why he didn't want it connected to the internet?
I mean, I know what like PVR is or whatever, but everyone else in Gen Z probably not. They're probably just like, what is this old man yelling at cloud?
yes, actually. I love that bit ends with him clutching the TiVo in the taxi. Ethan, go ahead and give me one or two of your favorite or some of your favorite bits.
You took my two favorite gags with Jack Frost and Dave Bautista. So now I really have to scratch my brain, but I think
what about the sleeping husband?
That's a good recurring gag. That's also a really good one I could mention, is that I need him, get him, I need him right now. And then it cuts to a shot where it's like, oh, this is probably The Office. And he's like, sorry, but it cuts back and it's the same. Like, it's like, oh, and then it goes to a wide and he's literally in the bedroom. And it wasn't just some other place. Playing with editing like that reminds me of like a SpongeBob gag where it's like, Gary, there's no time, ride the scene transition, and then when the bubbles go up, like he rides the bubble and then lands in the Krusty Krab. He's like, Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
it's not just it plays with filmmaking and like editing and things coming into and out of frame. Like that's something that like Sam Raimi does really well, where in Spider-Man 2, J. Jonah Jameson is like, here's a headline, food poisoning scare, scares city or whatever, and it cuts, and it's an empty frame, and then Sam Raimi's brother, Ted Raimi, just, wrong side, here we go, he's just like, some food got poisoned? I'm a little nauseous, yeah. So, it plays with the camera and what is, like, I love the, when you think there's not going to be a coffee cup gag and he's driving, it's a close-up, and then he just grabs the cup out of the frame from someone handed it to him like a drive-through. Like, thank you. I love the cold cases gag, where it's someone walking out of a freezer with a bunch of files that are like frozen.
Cold case files.
That was fun.
Yeah. I love how things are falling apart out here while he like tore the whole building open. And the PLOT device is another great one.
I laughed so loud.
Early on that
good.
is. It's a great introduction to. Yeah, it's a great. We need you to know that this is stupid, and we know it's stupid. So like, let's get on board right now. Like it's.
Yep.
Guys, let me explain my ignorant entry into this movie, because I had no idea what to expect here. I don't know. I actually there was a part of me that's like, I may not like it, kind of like I said, I may not like it, I may like it, I'm not sure, I just want to see this for the podcast. And then they pulled out the PLOT device. I was like, I'm in. I am so in. I now know what this movie is, and I'm buying it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That was the gag that just like got me. And it's great how early on that happens, because it really sets a great tone. Like, if this joke doesn't make you laugh out loud, you might want to reconsider. Like, I don't know if this is going to work for you, but it made me laugh out loud, and I was laughing the rest of the time. That was a really great gag to start on.
Yeah, it's definitely one that it sets the precedent for the movie you're going to watch. And you're absolutely right. Like, to Ethan's point, yes, the fact that it comes so early on is really smart. And then to your point, Thomas, it's your litmus test, right? Like, if this is not funny to you, then the rest of the movie is not going to be for you, and you might as well just get up and walk away.
Right.
But a literal MacGuffin device called plot device, if that doesn't sell you, then you're in the wrong movie. I'm sorry. We talked about it a little bit, but that Black Eyed Peas bit, that Black Eyed Peas bit, there's a lot of good back and forth banter. I think them having a whole sexual conversation about stuffing a turkey. I think that one
Frank
is really
Drebin.
game.
Me too.
Me too.
And he says it with such a veneer that is different from every other delivery of Liam Neeson's in the whole movie. It sounds like the actor himself got really excited about something that just happened, like in real life. It's so
that
good.
whole club sequence, honestly, from start to finish, that whole club sequence was absolutely phenomenal. Even from the time he entered, and this is when I talk about sight gags, like, we'll be here all day. We'll be here longer than the movie if we actually try to reference every sight gag. But the way that scene starts is him throwing the coats on the champagne glasses, picking up the tip jar and drinking it up, and then it just moves on. Like, that's it. That's the whole gag. That's the joke. And the way that those types of things repeat throughout, and it's not even oh god, it's so good. But that Black Eyed Peas bit, those two men going back and forth, excitedly talking about how much they love the Black Eyed Peas, and naming each member, and then landing on, well, no, you can't forget about Fergie. It's just...
I want to rewatch the whole movie just to get back to that scene. Like, the whole movie is great, but that scene
is so good. I love it so much. I know we touched on it a little bit, but the Mission Impossible Fallout, and
goodness,
how far that goes. And Ethan has talked a lot about just the layers of jokes, right? So even if you haven't seen Mission Impossible, it's still very funny because it goes beyond how far Mission Impossible goes. And then it's also incredibly self-referential, to your point, Thomas, where, they recognize that, like, okay, how did you do this so fast? And then that actually becomes part of the joke. But if you have seen Mission Impossible Fallout, the layer of how good that joke becomes, it's a topper. Like, you can't beat it if you've seen it, because then the whole time you're just waiting for the walls to fall off. And then it's, oh my God, that joke is so good. The other two I'll call out real quick is PonziSchemeArena.com.
PonziSchemeArena.com.
Guys, I live in Los Angeles. I live right outside of Los Angeles, and I think that every single time I drive by the crypto arena, because that is what it is. And the fact that they just went for it and they were like, no, just call this what it is. So good. Just absolutely amazing. And then I'll give a shout out to the windshield gag, because I think that is just one of the funniest sequence of events, because that's all sight gags. Like, there's nothing else that happens in there. It's just
that might be the most
minute of sight gags.
Original Naked Gun movie gag that the movie has it
Yes.
feels very Leslie Nielsen Naked Gun, and I really appreciate
Yes, it does.
Gag.
Yes, it does.
It's
From shooting
so
the glass out
absurd.
to the balloons, and then the windshield just gets put back on. It's just there's nothing more Naked Gun than that. That is so
They were
Naked
walking
Gun
across the
coded.
street with the windshield, and I'm like, get out of here. You guys are going to put the windshield back on this car.
And then actually one of my favorite parts, because I'm an old man, the bit ends with Clippy showing up on like a Cybertruck and being like, it looks like you need help. Dude, oh my God, this movie, man. This movie is just, I have struggled a lot with the hyperbole that people have done, where they're just like, this is the funniest movie ever. This is the funniest movie of the year. I don't think all the jokes land. I think, it bats. I'll say this. If you have an 85, 86 minute runtime and you bet 50% of the jokes that land, that means you have 42.5 minutes of just straight jokes that land. That is an incredible batting average for a comedy like this. That is just really, really hard to pull off. So even if you walked away from it being like, yeah, that was kind of funny, I chuckled quite a bit, I'm actually having more fun recounting some of these bits that I remembered there. And I'm actually laughing harder at it now than I did when I saw it originally. And I'm ready to see it again because that's what it does. I'm sorry, guys, that's a great comedy. That's a great comedy when three guys can just get together and be like, you know what's really funny? And then we all just talk about it for 20 minutes.
And it's interesting because I was thinking as I'm watching it, in the middle of watching it, I'm already thinking, I can't wait to watch this again. Firstly, to relive these jokes because I think they'll hold up. But also, secondly, to look for jokes that I didn't catch the first time. There's always something going on. And so, I'm scanning the screen to see, what in the background am I missing? But it's hard to do on your first watch when you're, also trying to pay attention to the jokes in the foreground. So I am very much looking forward to seeing this again. And I am going to hyperbolize. This is my favorite comedy of the year so far.
You mentioned the runtime, 85 minutes, and it doesn't stop until the lights come on in the theater. I don't know if you stayed the whole time.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
But in every line of the credits, there's some gag. There's something that they just completely made up. There's a Netflix password in there. There will be music buyer or it's hard to remember exact ones. And I was I noticed one joke and then I was reading all of the names. And so on the one hand, you're looking for more jokes, because in the first movie, the reason why I was keeping my eye on it was because in the first movie, in the credits, it doesn't credit background extras. It has in quotes the gag that they said and then the actor's name. So it'll be I can't believe what was that all about in quotes and then the credited actor. And so I don't know, did you guys catch any of the gags in the credits?
So here's what's funny, and this is why I definitely need to see this movie again. I did stay for the whole credits, but this is just the layers of jokes that they're putting on top of it. I stayed for the whole thing, but I was so enraptured by the song that he wrote for Beth that he's singing and just paying attention to the studio time he rented that I missed all of the credit jokes that you're talking about. I didn't even know they were there until I got home and saw on Twitter that people were talking about, they were highlighting some of their favorites. And I was like, how did I miss this? I stayed for it and I still missed one of the jokes that they were doing. And they compound so many at the same time. And it's so good. So yeah, I missed it, but I was dialed into the song of him. I love when in the song where he pulls up the guitar and he's like, oh, this is really fun. And then he starts playing it and it's just this amazing guitar solo. And he's like, oh, this is really easy.
I love the credit. Just one more thing about the credits is, I think I saw Kevin Feige say something where it's it's nice to have a scene at the end of the credits people wait for because people are watching the credits. No, they're not. They're on their phone waiting until a scene comes back on. But within this Naked Gun movie, because of this movie, you're just while you're looking for gags, you're reading the real people's names. You're recognizing who actually made the movie. So I think that is something that's really sweet about the movie, because they're not every single line. There will be in like the middle, at the top, at the bottom. They also credit every single member of the band who did the music and what instruments they played. That was really nice. I don't remember seeing anything specific like that before. I feel like that was definitely something Seth MacFarlane had a hand in, because if you know anything about Family Guy, they have big band jazz orchestra for all the music transitions, and he himself does like jazz singing. So yeah, thank you, Seth MacFarlane, for producing this. Thank you, Akiva Shaver, for writing this.
Yeah.
Everything about this is incredible. This and Friendship have like some of the biggest laughs in two very completely different ways. And I'll let you go back to what you were saying.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking
TSJ,
about
but
I'm thinking about movies that have come out this year that I've seen that could use a little more dose of the kind of self-awareness that this movie has. You know, I heard that Love Hurts movie with Ke Kwan came out earlier this year. What a terrible film! But if it had just a little morsel of self-awareness about what it's doing with the genre that it's trying to live in, like that actually could have been a very entertaining film. I also think about like Novocaine. If Novocaine had a little bit more self-awareness as well, because it goes really kind of all in on this like violent action, and there's a little bit of comedy, but yeah, that self-awareness component, like I think I just want more of that for these movies that are clearly absurd to recognize like this is absurd, we're in on the joke too. And that's just what Naked Gun is so good at being in on its own joke.
Yeah. Not in a Marvel way too. Like
not in a Marvel. Speaking of that, let me continue my campaign for Marvel to quit mid-credit scenes, because again, the mid-credit scene of Naked Gun is far better than what we've gotten from Marvel in a long time. So like, Marvel, either take notes or stop, because
the
everybody else is doing mid-credit scenes better.
On Resort, God damn it! I think, and these these are my final thoughts. So we'll do final thoughts and then we'll wrap up. But I think one of the things with that joke in particular, and then all the other ones where they kind of do some cultural commentary, what I like about that is there's nothing about it that feels like it's trying to preach something to you. Mm-hmm. Right? The way that joke is written is based on your own understanding of police brutality, police violence, police immunity, and your level of understanding will dictate how well you understand that joke, right? Yeah. It's funny just on its own. Even if you know nothing, care nothing, heard nothing about the way police operate in America, that's still funny. That like he's being rigorously investigated and then he gets sent to a resort and spa. That's funny just on its own. But like Ethan has mentioned a number of times, the layers of that joke, you can just keep peeling it back based on your own cultural understanding. And I think that is just, again, a testament to the cleverness and smartness of the writing to be able to make poop jokes and make fart jokes and make dick jokes, but then also do this incredible subtle joke about police brutality at the very end of the movie, which is just so, that to me is just amazing. And you just don't find many comedies that have the ability to do stuff like that. And I think that's one of the things that just makes this Naked Gun movie so much better than it has any right to be. I was genuinely nervous. I don't think that you should be digging back into the archives of satirical spoof comedies and trying to reinvent them for a modern audience. Like that is just that's a dangerous precedent. And I think that if this one becomes successful in true Hollywood studio fashion, they're going to learn all the wrong lessons. And we're going to get just a bunch of the worst fucking iterations of this movie you have ever seen. Yes.
Oh, yes, no.
Yes. It is only going to get worse from here, and this is a diamond in the rough. But if you were smart, you get the right people, you get the right cast. I am down to watch one of these a year. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Naked Gun, but if you do something like this that has this much cleverness, this much self-awareness, and just does so many things right, I am totally down to give my money once a year to just relax for less than an hour and a half, and just laugh my ass off. Because if there's anything we need right now in this hellscape that we're living in, it's something like The Naked Gun. So thank you for this incredible escapist humor. Ethan, final thoughts.
I guess we don't have time to mention stuff that may or may not have worked, or stuff that was not great.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
I feel like they could have gone for a different visual style. Like, I know what they went for, and I think it works. But part of me was like, sometimes this looks a little too dark, or a little like too like literally dark, or like too serious. Like, I feel like it could have been a lot brighter in matching the original movies. And on the police brutality thing, I think they could have gone a little bit further, because the originals definitely did with congratulations, Frank, on killing your 1,000th criminal. Whereas in this movie it was
real
like
quick,
1,000
quick, that reminds me of one of my favorite gags. It's when he's interviewing the bartender, and he goes from 1,000 to 100 to 50 to 1. Holy shit! That is one of those jokes where, like, I couldn't believe they even went there.
That was one of the biggest laughs.
The way I laughed at that joke, it not only is it a fun joke, but just the delivery of it. You see it coming, and then when he delivers the line, it's hilarious. And
oh yeah, Tony.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry, but yes, you're right. It's because they do go that far, and they could have gone farther in the last one. But yeah, keep going, Ethan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody should go see this movie. I saw an ad where Liam Neeson was like, "You got to save comedies; they're dying every year. Go to the theater." So definitely go buy tickets to this movie. Support actually good, funny movies. Stop buying streaming slop and Marvel slop. Go watch something that you'll actually enjoy. Yeah.
No more red notices. We don't need them.
No, please.
Oh my God, Dwayne The Rock being like, "Red 1 has to be seen in theaters in IMAX," because I saw Oppenheimer or whatever the fuck he said.
No, it does not. No, it does not, my friend.
Look, I'm gonna get off this podcast and then remember 10 other jokes that I would have liked to have talked about. And that is remarkable to me. This was a great conversation, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I've said it a couple times, I didn't know what to expect because I had no experience with Naked Gun, and slapstick comedy isn't always my thing. Silly comedy isn't always my thing. Like Happy Gilmore 2 came out this weekend, so comedy fans are probably just like reveling in the amount of comedy that they have. But it's just not my wheelhouse. It's not what I usually go out to see. And so I am very happy for this podcast that coerced me into going to see this movie, because I think it was definitely a gem of my summer movie watching. So I'm very happy that I saw it. I thought it was very good, very entertaining. I can't wait to see it a second time. Absolutely recommend going to see this in a theater with an audience, so that you can be part of the laughs, or kind of gauge like how everyone else is reacting to all these jokes. It really is a fun theatrical experience. And this is one of those movies where the more I think about it, the better it gets in my head. And I love when that happens, because lately it's been kind of the opposite with Marvel and blockbuster films. So I'm very happy for this one, and I really do, like, seriously, go get the tickets. Let's get this box office successful so that this movie can live positively in the headlines.
Yeah, no, I agree. So guys, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Ethan, tell everybody where they can find you and find your stuff.
You can find me on Letterboxd at fun E man _ you can find me there, and you can find other things that I'm attached to through that link. If you want to hire me to edit videos, that's cool. I do that sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather plug the movie. Go watch Naked Gun.
Yes.
Nice. Nice. Thomas, the Akiva Schaffer of ForReel.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Oh man, yeah, no, I mean you can always find my content at thisisforreal.com. For real, obviously spelled FORREEL. I don't know if it's that obvious, but it is to me. Yeah, I mean TIFF is coming up, and that's just one movie to talk about for the next month. We'll all be participating with TIFF in one way or another, and I'm excited for all of our contents to start rolling out. We have some more they're going to announce more movies next week. We already have kind of a stellar lineup now as it is, and so I'm excited to see what else they add to the lineup. It's going to be another year of madness trying to create reasonable schedules while we're in Toronto.
There's no such thing, by the way.
There's no such thing. I think we've had enough experience to know it's just going to be chaos. We're going to make 10 or 11 different schedules and then keep remaking them. But in the meantime, between now and then, we'll be doing more podcasting. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, yes, you can find me here at ForReel, helping host all these shows. You can also find all my written work on nerdbot.com. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Please get yourself a cup of coffee and be careful of that man's laughter. Bye.
That was awesome.